Welcome, business owners, theater operators, and studio managers to this essential explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a compliance framework that is absolutely critical for protecting both your people and your bottom line. You know, when it comes to workplace safety in the entertainment industry, just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, well, that's simply not a strategy. So we're going to break down exactly what your legal obligations are, and more importantly, how you can actually meet them.
Okay, let's start with a hard truth. Imagine a housekeeping worker slips in your auditorium, or a lighting tech takes a fall from a rig on your set today. The legal and financial stakes for you as an employer are immediate, and they are massive. These aren't just rare hypothetical situations. They are classic, everyday employment injuries, and the decisions you make right now, before an accident ever happens, will completely dictate your reality when one actually does.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll quickly run through the Compensation Act basics, define exactly who is covered, detail your core employer safety duties, walk through S9 Consulting's 12-section audit, and finally, outline the exact actions you need to take after an accident.
Section 1. The Compensation Act Basics. Let's understand your legal foundation. We really have to ground ourselves in the primary legislation here, which is the Employees' Compensation Act of 1923.
The big question is, what actually triggers your liability? Well, for any compensation claim to be legally valid, it has to pass a strict three-part test. First, a clear employer-employee relationship has to exist. Second, the injury has to happen during employment. And third, the accident must arise out of and in the course of that employment. This test is exactly why having crystal clear contracts and employment documentation is absolutely non-negotiable for your defense.
Moving right along to Section 2, who is actually covered? Let's look at the true scope of the Compensation Act.
You might be wondering who actually falls under these rules in a modern entertainment setup. There's this huge misconception that the Act only applies to traditional factory workers. But the reality for the cinema industry, it's entirely different. Whether you're running the single screen, a giant multiplex, or a sprawling studio, almost everyone in your facility can be covered. We're talking projectionists, HVAC techs, parking attendants, duty managers, right up to the stunt artists and rigging crews. Heck, even contract labor engaged by your theater is usually covered. If they meet that three-part test we just talked about, you are on the hook.
Section 3. Core employer safety duties across theaters, multiplexes, and studios. Recognizing who is covered is really just step one.
Because beyond merely paying out compensation after a disaster, the law mandates that you proactively prevent these accidents. And as we all know, risks in this industry vary wildly. Just look at the contrast here. A multiplex operator is heavily focused on systemic, public-facing policies. Think crowd management, escalator maintenance, and food court hygiene. Meanwhile, a studio owner is dealing with highly volatile industrial-level hazards, things like temporary scaffolding, multi-ton suspended lighting rigs, cranes, and even authorized pyrotechnics. Your safety framework can't be generic. It has to be custom-tailored to your specific environment.
Which brings us to the core of today's explainer. Section 4. S9 Consulting's 12-section audit. This is your practical self-audit tool.
Now, this isn't just some random checklist. S9 Consulting has built a strategic framework that acts as your operational shield. I want you to really let this idea sink in. This audit is your documented, tangible proof that you took every reasonable step to protect your people. If the labor department ever comes knocking, or an accident actually happens, this very framework is your absolute first line of defense.
So let's break down how this works. The S9 audit starts with the absolute essentials. Sections A, B, and C are all about building a rock-solid foundation. This means having visible safety policies posted up, maintaining flawless documentation like attendance and wage records, and keeping strict control over your temporary workforce. You literally must confirm that your contract workers are properly licensed and registered before they ever step foot on your premises.
Then we get into the day-to-day operations with Section E, which is entirely focused on personal protective equipment, or PPE. And listen, just buying a bunch of safety shoes, helmets, and harnesses and tossing them in a supply closet, that doesn't cut it. The audit requires you to actively document that this gear is not only available, but actually being issued to and used by your workers on the floor.
Moving forward, Sections F, G, and H are where the audit gets incredibly venue-specific. For a single-screen theater, you're logging checks on illuminated exit signs and securing electrical wiring in the projection room. For a multiplex, it's about daily escalator inspections and crowd management protocols. And for a Cine studio, you're checking off certified scaffolding paperwork, authorized pyrotechnics, and the safe storage of hazardous chemicals. It enforces rigorous, daily accountability exactly where you need it most.
Now, if the unthinkable happens, Sections I and J step in to guide your immediate aftermath. Did you record witness statements right away? Did you secure that CCTV footage before it got overwritten? Were the labor authorities notified? The S9 audit forces you to handle these compensation claims promptly because unjustified delays don't just hurt your employee, they open your business up to severe statutory penalties and compounding interest.
Finally, the audit wraps up with Sections K and L. These sections guarantee that safety isn't just a secret kept by upper management. Your staff needs systematic training on their rights and emergency exits. And critically, management has to conduct a structured monthly compliance review. That means logging your safety meetings, running fire drills, and verifying equipment maintenance. It's about turning safety from a one-time checklist into a living, breathing culture.
Section 5. Actions after an accident. Let's go over the immediate response protocol.
We all know that even with the most meticulous audits in place, accidents can still happen. When they do, chaos is your worst enemy. Your sequential response will entirely dictate the outcome. Step 1, always, is to provide immediate medical assistance. Save lives first. Step 2, secure the area so nobody else gets hurt. Then, notify management, record the incident, collect your evidence, inform the statutory authorities where legally required, and finally, assess your liability and cooperate fully with the commissioner. Skipping even one of these steps can be a disaster for both employee welfare and your compliance status.
Look, navigating all these complex safety obligations and compensation laws is a massive undertaking, and you really shouldn't do it alone. Proactive compliance demands an expert partner. S9 Consulting, led by founder K.A. Kumar, is entirely dedicated to building these long-term institutional partnerships. Guided by their core ethos of truth guides, service drives, impact lasts, they provide the strategy and the precise 12-section audit training you need to safeguard your employees and protect your organization's hard-earned reputation.
So I want to leave you with this final, critical question. If a Labor Department inspector walked into your theater or studio tomorrow morning and demanded to see your safety registers, what story would they tell? Would they clearly prove your relentless due diligence, or would they instantly expose your hidden liabilities? Take a hard look at your operations today. Implement the S9 Consulting 12-section audit we've walked through. Partner with the right experts, and make sure your workplace is a true model of safety in action. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.